Hello and welcome to the 5th episode of 100 Casts, the hopefully long-running series that I'm going to be having on my channel here, in which I will be casting 100 games of League of Legends to practice my shoutcasting ability. These games are going to be mainly for my practice, so they are going to be raw footage. I'm going to shoutcast over them once, edit them a little bit just to get some nicer sound quality, and put in this little intro that I'm putting in right now, and then upload it to the channel. So if it's not 100% top-notch, if I say like I just did every now and then, and the shoutcasting isn't amazing, I apologize. This is where I'm trying to practice. If you don't want to ever come across the word please go to some of my other videos and don't watch this one. Anyways, if you'd like to get your replay featured in one of these casts, please just look in the description below. There are instructions on how to do that there. Thank you. Alright, well, let's get right down to it then. Here we have the purple team being made up of a Jace top lane, an Udyr jungle. Actually, no, scratch that. That Jace is in the mid lane, my bad. A Braum Kog'Maw bot lane, which is pretty powerful. They have quite a lot of damage and the ability to proc Braum's stun from quite a distance because of Kog'Maw's long-range auto attacks when he activates his W, being able to fire off those globs of acid to quite a distance. And Jace and Braum being on the same team is rather nice as well. In the mid-game, Jace going to be able to use his W in ranged form to quickly get a bunch of autos off to really proc that Braum passive very quickly, stunning someone nearly instantaneously after one stack of Braum's passive has landed on them. And then, in the top lane, we actually have an Olaf for purple side, not a Jace. An Olaf who is choosing not to bring Flash or Ghost, no mobility summoners. Though I suppose the heal that he's bringing could count as a minor mobility summoner, now that it does have that speed buff. But he does bring Heal and Ignite to the top lane, two pretty powerful combat spells, so he doesn't seem to be wanting to run away from anything. He wants to fight, he wants to throw axes, shoot lightning out of the sky, and just fight up in the top lane. Probably going to be seeing a lot of combat. He is up against a Jarvan who did bring Flash as well as Ignite. Ignite going to be very useful against Olaf, who has a lot of sustain, a lot of lifesteal with his passive in those one-on-one duels, which sometimes can be very difficult to bring down if you don't have a healing debuff on him. And on blue side, we have the Jarvan in the top lane, which I just mentioned, the Ahri in the mid lane, a Morgana and Jinx bot lane combo, which is fairly powerful, pretty long range there with Jinx's Q and Morgana's Snare being an incredibly long range CC. And the jungle for blue side is going to be an Evelynn, who's just starting her blue buff right now, as Udyr is finishing his off around the same time that Evelynn finishes hers. Sorry, just need to take a drink of water there. And down in the bot lane, we see Jinx and Morgana pushing up the lane, probably going for that early level 2 advantage on their opponents. And Jarvan landing his passive auto attack onto the Olaf, missing Dragon Lance though, but still winning the trade in the end, dodging one of Olaf's thrown axes, bringing Olaf down to about half health, whereas he only loses about a quarter of his health. So coming out ahead on that trade, landing the second Dragon Lance, popping a bit of Olaf's armor off there and getting a level 2 just before the Olaf does. I believe Olaf gets it right after he does, so he doesn't have any time to use that level advantage that he garnered for himself up there, as blue side is pushing in on the bot lane. Jarvan not landing the knockup, but does land the damage from both the flag and the drag. And now Olaf dropping his Ignite, popping his heal while ignited, first blood going to the Olaf, but Jarvan killing the Olaf immediately afterward, both of them dying nearly at the same exact moment. Olaf just getting a minor advantage there with the first blood, the second kill being worth nearly as much as it, because first blood has been nerfed a while ago. Doesn't give quite as much gold as it used to. Kog'Maw getting hit by the snare there, taking a bunch of pain from the combination of Morgana and Jinx. Jinx swapping to her rockets to unload some damage onto the Kog'Maw while he's snared. But Kog'Maw just going to pop his health potion there and use the passive lifesteal from Doran's Blade to sustain up. But blue side is still pushing in onto purple side, getting that level advantage again, level 3 now. Jinx missing her zap though, weaving it behind the minion, but Kog'Maw stepping to the side and dodging it. Ahri a little bit low on mana here in the mid lane, and Evelynn and Udyr are on their way into the mid lane. Udyr popping the Ghost, doesn't realize Evelynn is there. Evelynn coming out of invisibility right next to the Udyr, dealing tons of damage to him as Ahri ignites him, Udyr going down to the Evelynn in the end as Ahri flashes away from Jace. Jace flashes after her, but Ahri drops the charm onto Jace. Jace, however, as soon as he comes out of the charm, dropping his empowered auto attack in range form onto the Ahri, killing her. But Evelynn coming up behind him after he now has no mana, no escapes, goes down to the Evelynn. That's another kill for Evelynn, who has herself 2-0, but Jinx and Morgana being chased onto the enemy bot team here, though they do manage to escape, Jinx landing the zap, and then Morgana exhausting the Kog'Maw, just barely surviving, getting out of range there. Now, it's back to farming for both bottom sides, who both have fairly low AD carries. I expect something to happen. Yes, something is happening. Braum is leaping in onto the Jinx, who gets spell shielded in time to survive some of the damage. Barely, no, not going to survive, taking the last auto attack from Kog'Maw to bring him down, as in top lane we see Evelynn getting another gank off. Not really being as successful as her last one, though, as she does go down to the Olaf. Jarvan flashes after the Olaf, but Olaf, playing with the vision there, does manage to get a double kill for himself in a turnaround situation that I did not really expect to happen in the top lane. Olaf now being 3-1 to Jarvan's 1-2. That's certainly going to be a difficult lane for Jarvan to keep heading on back to. And Evelynn now making a small mistake there in the top lane, probably going to be regretting that. But it's nothing that they can't come back from as a team. They are only 700 gold behind. It's not too much of an insurmountable lead. Just a minor mistake. And we swap over to the mid lane here, where Ahri is clearing out the wave, and Udyr is farming the Wraiths on the other side of that wall. Maybe going to be coming mid lane after doing that for a quick gank, though. Ahri is now getting pushed back by the Jace, so it doesn't look like she's going to be that easily a gankable target, and Udyr knows just going to be going over to his wolf camp and continuing to farm the jungle. As Ahri continues to farm the mid lane, hitting level 6 there a little bit before Jace, but Jace not having that level 6 spike, it doesn't matter quite as much as it would in many other matchups, though still a level advantage is a level advantage. It means higher base stats and higher health. And Olaf here with double buffs in the top lane, and the lane is pushing into him. Probably couldn't have asked for a better situation to be in. Just going to be keeping throwing those axes, spamming them out onto the Jarvan as Braum walls up a bit and wards off some of that poke from the Jinx down in the bottom lane, not taking too much damage from her minigun attack and the zap. Olaf missing an axe there. Stuttering an auto as well, does manage to land another auto though onto the Jarvan, landing the slow on him, but here's Evelynn back in the top lane using her E and then spamming Q over and over again onto the Olaf. Olaf does ignite and then bring down the Jarvan with his true damage E and gets the kill on him, but Jarvan's ignite finishes off the Olaf after his death. And it's another 1-for-1 trade up in the top lane, with Jarvan now being 2-3 to the Olaf's 4-2. Jarvan buying 2 longswords and a Doran shield. Olaf getting 2 longswords and Ninja Tabby. Jarvan turning one of those longswords into a Vampiric Scepter, deciding he doesn't really want that though, selling it back and buying a Chain Vest, making me a liar. As Olaf picks up a pickaxe, Jarvan going for the defensive buy, and Olaf going for the offensive. I'm really not sure who's going to win in that one, though Olaf does have the lead in gold, so it looks like he probably will be winning that engagement so long as Evelynn doesn't keep coming back to his lane as she has been doing. We see Ahri now getting the blue buff for herself, Evelynn giving that over to her. And both teams are on essentially an even footing as far as gold, maybe 100 gold difference between the two teams at 7.5 to 8 minutes into this game. Bot lane still not level 6, but deciding to fight it out anyway. Kog'Maw landing tons of auto attacks onto that Jinx. Jinx going spell immune though, very well timed Morgana spell shield there as Braum's ult doesn't do anything at all to the Jinx. Jinx getting slowed down by the Kog'Maw Void Ooze on the ground, but Kog'Maw not wanting to go in on that fight, walks away from it. Jinx quite low, Kog'Maw not quite as low, but both sides still in a dangerous situation. No junglers having yet to gank bot, but if they were to decide to do so now, it could end up with kills certainly happening for either one of these teams. Braum taking a lot of damage, being bound out of position there, and then getting hit by the zap and the dark pool of Morgana. Probably going to have to be forced to be backing here. Yes, he's walking backwards behind one of the bushes and is backing out of sight of blue side. I'm not actually out of sight. Blue side had a ward in that bush. They knew Braum backed. Morgana now walking behind the Kog'Maw to zone him out. Kog'Maw having nowhere to go here, is just wandering around in circles, going to get bound by that Morgana, and then snared up by Jinx's snares, and Jinx's passive perfectly countering Kog'Maw as she gets that speed boost to get away from the true damage explosion of the after-death effect of Kog'Maw's passive. Here's Udyr in the mid lane, going to be going for this gank on Ahri, perhaps. No, he decides better against it, walking up towards top lane where some action is happening. The Olaf and the Jarvan going at it again, both of them dropping each other to about the same percentage of health, as Evelynn and Udyr are both on their way up to the top lane. Jarvan sees the Udyr, though he does have a ward in that bush. Udyr pops Ghost and runs up to the edge of the tower and starts spamming emotes, little blue bear popping off of his back over and over again as he just keeps making that silly Earth sound. Evelynn comes up behind the Olaf and the Udyr, though, pops her ult onto both of them, gets that huge shield as Jarvan cataclysms onto the Olaf, who, not bringing Flash, has no way out of it at all, as Evelynn lands the red buff slow onto Udyr. Udyr taking tons of damage from that repeated hate spikes of Evelynn, goes down. No assist going over to the Jarvan, who never got a chance to land any of his skills or auto attacks onto the Udyr, but Evelynn does take him out as Ahri, now in the red side jungle of purple team, lands a charm and then ults after the Jace, killing him where he stands. That's a kill up for Ahri now, who is finally getting a kill on the board for herself at 1, 1, and 2 at 10 minutes into the game. I say finally, but that's finally for this game, which has been very action-packed, as we see down in bot lane, Jinx nearly going down to the repeated ults of Kog'Maw, who chased her back to her tower. She's going to be basing now, and that leaves Morgana all alone in the lane, just standing on the other side of the wall, trying to stay out of vision of the other team so that she doesn't get jumped in a 1v2 situation. Jarvan returning to his lane in top. Morgana landing that bind there and getting some good harass onto Braum, but out of mana now, and not having any backup. Not really going to be able to do much with that other than proc her Spellthief's Edge passives. And then, yeah, she's all alone down here in this bot lane. I don't really think she's going to be able to do anything unless Evelynn and Jinx are both on their way towards bot lane. So bot lane is pushing up, so they could go for a gank here. Evelynn having the double buffs and that red buff slow would be nice, but Morgana being a bit low on mana probably only has enough for one binding. Taking a lot of harass from the Kog'Maw on her way up to cast her ult onto Braum. Braum flashes out of her ult as she goes down to the Kog'Maw auto attacks. Braum then exhausting the Evelynn, who flashes over to continue casting hate spikes on to the Kog'Maw and Braum, who then get hit at low health by the Jinx ulti, which does a whole bunch of damage, takes them both out in the AoE explosion smiley face, and gets an instant double kill for Jinx, who is now 3-1. Jarvan, finding the Udyr in his jungle, ignites him, drops Cataclysm on him, and Ahri comes up just to charm and throw her Orb of Deception across the Udyr's face and get that little KS there. No, not really a KS. It's never a KS. Well, it is a KS. It's a kill secure, not a kill steal. Ahri getting the kill there, going 2-1 now, doing pretty well for herself, as Evelynn's here in the mid lane, dropping her ult onto Jace. Ahri's not close enough by to follow up, though. Jace igniting the Evelynn, going into ranged form and shooting an empowered shock blast and killing the Evelynn, who bit off a bit more than she could chew in this 1v1 against the Jace in the mid lane. Ahri having roamed up to the top lane, not realizing perhaps that Evelynn was there to gank, or Evelynn not realizing perhaps that Ahri was not there. All in all, a miscommunication on the part of blue team, as Braum has found a pink ward that blue team has placed there, and I just love the variety of Braum's auto attacks. He doesn't seem to leave a single limb on his body unused when attacking things. He uses the shield, he uses his free arm, he uses his head. I think I saw him kick once. He just beats things with every part of his body. Does lots of beating. As Braum now standing around the dragon, doesn't want blue team to be able to start this, though he is being surrounded by Ahri towards the top and Jinx towards the bottom. Jinx landing a slow onto him with Zap, but they don't seem to want to follow up on this. Maybe they want to go for the blue buff steal. Morgana landing a binding and one of the little blue buff minions. That's not going to be too helpful, but it was between her and Kog'Maw now going to fire an auto and take the blue buff, getting it away with an auto attack as Ahri ults over the wall, misses her charm, and the Braum tosses up his shield, mitigating a ton of that damage with his shield and his W. Ahri's charm, not connecting, probably saved Braum's life there as he manages to escape to the safety of his tower, and Ahri, out of mana, is running away now from the combination of Braum, Kog'Maw, and Udyr. Udyr landing the stun on the Jinx, and then Braum's passive popping on the Jinx. She gets shut down by the Jace. Meanwhile, in top lane, though, the Olaf is going down to the Jarvan and the Evelynn, but Morgana has gotten caught by the majority of purple team down towards the bot lane. Braum going quite low but not going down, as the Morgana does go down to the Udyr. making it 13 kills to 10 kills overall, and a slight gold lead for blue side, but nothing really incredibly significant, as Ahri finds Udyr in the bush, drops a lot of damage onto him, does manage to kill him with the last little sliver of her mana there. And Ahri now is on a rampage, though she doesn't really have enough mana to keep it going without backing her, I don't think, because Kog'Maw has a lot of damage and Ahri has no mana at all. She probably doesn't want to stick around here. No, she's backing off now after taking some more harass from the Kog'Maw. Jinx's ulti scores a field goal between the Kog'Maw and the Jarvan, who managed to take out the bottom turret, putting a turret up on the scoreboard for purple team, who are now sitting at 1 turret to 2 turrets and a 3,000 gold deficit against the enemy team, though that is not something which is going to be crushingly terrible, and they certainly could come back from this. The game is not decided at this point yet, as we see Evelynn pushing in onto the mid lane, taking a lot of damage off of that mid lane tower on purple side, but is getting surrounded now by the purple side team. She gets exhausted by Braum, who lands his passive onto her, and with a ton of burst from the Braum Q and a flash forward auto attack from Jace, the Evelynn does go down to the Jace, who is now on a killing spree, as we see Olaf pop his ult in the top lane to chase down the fleeing Jarvan, who turns to land a few autos on him. They're both trading back almost equally in damage. This is a very close fight. Olaf landing another thrown axe onto him, coming under tower, but choosing the better of it to walk away without doing any damage, cracking tower aggro. Ahri landing a charm onto Udyr, forcing him to walk under tower, taking a whole bunch of damage. He nearly goes down, but Ahri misses the final Orb of Deception that would have spelled his doom, and now he's backing right in the middle of the lane. Ahri throwing out another Orb of Deception, forcing him to stop trying to back, as Jace now dives under the turret onto Ahri, ignites her, lands his E to knock her back, and she gets shut down by the Jace and Braum, who both manage to escape the tower after doing so. Olaf still going at it with Jarvan up here in the top lane. Olaf having that nearly completed Ravenous Hydra, I believe it's called a Tiamat, is that component of the item. It's called a Tiamat. As a turret goes down in the bot lane for blue side, who has been split pushing this whole time with their AD carry and support duo, and who are nearly at the inhibitor tower down in bot lane. Purple team has to do something to mitigate this situation, or they might lose a lot more than just that 1 turret, which puts them 2 turrets behind on the board at 3 and 1, as Evelynn is here doing her red buff, and Braum is coming down to meet the blue side bot lane duo in that bush. He doesn't seem to realize that they were there. He's quite alone and probably quite dead. He does manage to mitigate a lot of that damage with his shield, but Morgana pops the ulti and a few more autos from Jinx. Yes, the last auto from Jinx, a long-range rocket, does seal his doom. Braum going down to that combo of Morgana and Jinx, as Olaf lands an axe, but gets ignited, doesn't want to keep chasing under the tower with Jarvan's Ignite on him, lands another axe though, coming back with the true damage, essentially smites the Jarvan and kills him, and that's another kill on the board for Olaf, who is now at 5-5-0 with a 1-to-1 KDA. Udyr here chasing down the Ahri, forcing her to ult away, then she ults back, drops the charm onto the Udyr, dealing tons of damage. As Udyr goes down to the Ahri, that puts Ahri even further ahead now in this matchup, though actually Jace is doing perfectly fine for himself too. They're both at 5 and 2. Ahri ahead by 10 CS and 1 assist, which is certainly not an insurmountable lead, as both teams are certainly still in this game, though blue team does have more map control, having more towers down, and that means more global gold as well, which puts them about 5,000 gold in the lead here. Morgana landing quite a nice binding there, weaving it between 2 of the back minions in that minion wave for purple team. And then a bunch of damage gets unloaded onto Braum, but Ahri's a bit too far ahead. She gets knocked back and then knocked up by the combination of Jace's E in melee form and Braum's ultimate, and she goes down. The kill going over to, I believe that was Jace who picked that one up. Udyr here being sped up by the gate from Jace, going under tower, might be going a bit too deep here. He is indeed. He takes a lot of damage, goes down to Morgana, who gets the last tick of damage there with her Dark Pool, as Jarvan and Olaf are up in the top lane dueling it out again. I think there's a little graphical bug with Jarvan's Cataclysm there. I saw the walls break, but I didn't see him form. But Evelynn now in the top lane, joining the Jarvan, doing lots of damage, helping him out. But Morgana and Jinx are a little bit split here, as Morgana is trying to take on 2 people by herself, and her AD carry is getting taken out by the enemy Jace. three members of purple team here, all of them fairly low in the mid lane, but managed to take out the enemy bot lane. Ahri's here in the middle. Can she get anything with this? She does miss the charm, but the W and her ult is enough to get an instant triple kill. That is wonderful. Ahri's certainly got to be happy with that. She has the DFG and a needlessly large rod now. Probably going to be doing quite a bit of damage. Doing quite well for herself out of this mid lane, as Jarvan and Evelyn, both fairly low on mana, are going to choose to walk away from this inhibitor tower of the top lane as Olaf shows up to stop their push. Udyr, though, in the mid lane is pushing up some minions by himself. Possibly not the greatest call. He doesn't have any teammates to help him out here, and Jinx has shown up. Misses the zap, but lands a bunch of auto attacks on him. He starts spamming taunts, dodges away, sidesteps the Jinx ult, but continues to spam taunts in range of the Jinx. Might not be the wisest decision. He gets hit by one skill shot. He's probably going to be going down here. Just keeps swapping forms and spamming the taunts in the different forms, having the different spirit animals jumping over his head. Ahri missing the charm and the Orb of Deception by a pixel. And then the zap landing onto the Braum, an auto attack from Jinx there, sneaking in onto the Udyr, nearly doing enough damage to kill him. He pops Turtle Stance just in time to survive, as Braum jumps in front of the Udyr, blocking the charm from Ahri, sacrificing his own life in place of Udyr. No, Braum does not go down. Maybe he does. His slow from his ult might be a bit too powerful to allow Jinx to get him. No, Jinx does manage to kill the Braum in the end, but Evelyn taking on a bit more than she can handle here in the form of Olaf over on the side of the team fight. Evelyn does go down to the Olaf, but Olaf then out of position and low on health goes down to the Jinx for a double kill for Jinx. Ahri now quite low, diving in onto the Jace, does manage to take him out and get away with a sliver of health, being spell shielded by that Morgana, who saves the Ahri's life. And it looks like blue team is going to be pushing up the mid lane here, taking the second tier turret at the mid lane as Udyr pops Ghost. Mikhail's perhaps a bit early there on the Morgana, who pops her ult to discourage the Udyr from chasing. The Udyr taking a lot of damage, not being very tanky with that build he has down there, the Boots of Swiftness, Zeal, and Feral Flare, being high damage and very quick, but not very tanky. Does go down to the Morgana ult and some auto attacks from Jinx, as Jinx now takes out the last few hit points of that tower, and they manage to get another tower for themselves on the board, making it 6-2, but Olaf is now here, does not like that Jinx just took his tower, takes her out, and Jarvan might be in a bit of trouble as Olaf misses the first axe, but picks it up again and throws it. But Jarvan does have a Randuin's, pops that to slow down the Udyr. I mean, not the Udyr, the Olaf, as Evelyn comes in from the side, pops her Blade of the King of the Olaf. Olaf, using that lifesteal passive, though, nearly kills off the Evelyn, who goes quite low in that duel against the low-health Olaf, who was getting tons of attack speed from all of his missing health, as Ahri misses both the Charm and the Orb of Deception on the Udyr, who is quite quick and very happy to keep spamming those emotes, taking a few auto attacks from Ahri as he does so, but he keeps swapping forms and spamming emotes, dodging another Charm and another Orb of Deception as he does so, and we see Evelyn down here on the bottom side of the map taking the red buff, as Udyr dodges another Orb of Deception, just playing happy feet all over today. Though I think Udyr might have at this point given up and just wants to play happy feet rather than League of Legends, dodging around all those skill shots, but not really contributing much to his team, just running into the enemy team and dying. That's a bit unfortunate for purple side. I suppose it does happen in solo queue. Jace's flash being forced out as Ahri ults after him. Ahri landing the charm with the minion, though. He's going to turn around and unload a bunch of damage onto Ahri, but Jinx is here to drop her ult onto the Jace, taking that kill as Kog'Maw shows up to kill the Ahri, as Jinx kills the Kog'Maw, getting a double kill for Jinx and one kill for purple side. Make that a triple kill for Jinx as Braum, caught behind enemy lines, does go down. Jarvan flashing forward, but missing the flag and drag onto Olaf, who follows up by turning around, trying to turn and burn onto this Jinx, who does go down, giving the shutdown gold over to Olaf, who then goes down himself to the final auto attack that was in the air from Jinx as she died. Udyr now behind enemy lines, just playing around, running in circles, having given up on this game. I'm not entirely sure why he did. They still certainly had a chance in this game. It was not a crushing defeat at this point yet, but he's decided to buy 2 Zeals, the best item he could have bought there, definitely 2 Zeals, and gone with Boots 3 being very quick, spamming those stances, playing some stance revolution, and spamming the emotes along with it. As Evelyn pops her Blade of the Ruined King, not having any mana to be able to cast her W to escape here, but pops her Blade of the Ruined King onto the Braum, getting that speed buff, able to escape in the top lane away from them. Morgana walking across these void ooze here, taken quite low by the continued ults and auto attacks of Kog'Maw in the mid lane at their inhibitor tower now. And it looks like Purple Team's going to be pushing out the mid lane, but Kog'Maw going a bit too close to the Ahri, who ults forward, lands the charm, gets Orb of Deception as well. Kog'Maw trying to kill the Morgana off there with his passive, but Morgana having flashed just in time and surviving the last tick of the Ignite as she starts to base over on the side of the map there. Udyr again running out of the base with his insane move speed and disregard for the actual game that he's playing. Gets taken out by the smiley face explosion of Jinx, not having any tank stats there, goes down very easily to that ult. Probably not expecting a rocket to the face, but that's what he got. As we see Braum having given up as well as in the enemy team's base doing some push-ups with a Poro on his shield and his shield on his back. Goes down to the Morgana who just recently backed and is standing right next to where the Braum was doing some push-ups. Did not really appreciate the manly display and took him out right away. And Ahri landing a charm and her Q onto the Kog'Maw does quite a bit of damage as Purple Team tries to chase Blue Team out of their base, but Jace gets caught on some of Jinx's snares. Olaf going into his ult, getting sped up by the gate from Jace, takes quite a lot of health away from Jinx, who's forced to flash away. The Yumu's being popped by Jace, but he takes way too much damage before he can get close enough, even with that speed buff, getting a killing spree over to Jinx, as we see Udyr running around, trying to kite around this this triple team from Blue Team, but they give up, not thinking that he's worth the chase anymore, and they start running up the mid lane towards the enemy team's base as Braum just runs himself into the enemy team, not really caring anymore, having given up on this game. He does go down to the Evelynn, picking up a kill to the Evelynn, who is now 7-4 as a team, as the Nexus turrets are going down off screen there for Purple Team. Looks like this is going to be an easy victory for Blue side. I'm not quite sure why so many members of Purple Team gave up on this one, but I suppose it happens in solo queue sometimes. You gotta live with it. Anyways, thank you for watching. Have a good one. See you guys tomorrow.